Good evening and welcome back to the Performing Arts Center here at Apache Junction High School for the second half of a special forum featuring the 4 candidates who are competing to be the next mayor in Apache Junction. That's the highest elected office. Tonight's forum is designed to help sort out their political and philosophical differences and to give you a better understanding of what each candidate represents. Hopefully, by the conclusion, you'll come away with a greater knowledge of the candidates and their positions, thereby allowing for a more informed decision when you cast your ballot. The forum is presented in the public interest and as a community service by the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce. And we especially want to thank our presenting sponsor, Salt River Project, and our supporting sponsor, Republic Services. My name is Vic Linoff, and I will serve as moderator for tonight's forum. And as I've explained previously, I have no direct connection to Apache Junction, although I just live a few miles to the west in that dark city called Mesa. Our thanks to the candidates for appearing here and their willingness to face off against each other and to take your questions. From your left, Charles Austin, Robin Barker. Well, actually, I don't think I have that in the right order, do I? Robin Barker and Chip Wilson and Charles Austin and John Insalico. Hopefully, I will get all of that right as we go through.
That's close enough. Insalico or Insalaco, whichever way you want.
Insalaco. Okay. Let me work on that. We have 90 minutes for me to learn how to pronounce the name. John Smith is our number 4 candidate there. That makes it easier for me. Every effort has been made to assure that tonight's dialogue will be impartial, balanced, and provide each candidate an equal opportunity for expression of views. This has been achieved in the following manner. Just before we got underway, the candidate's seating position was determined by a random drawing. After brief timed introductions, the sponsors will start off by posing a situational issue or question for each candidate to address or resolve. Unless otherwise stated, 1 minute will be permitted for a response. Each round of responses will be in a random order determined by the moderator. Our sponsor panelists are Steve Byfield, Chairman of the Board of Directors and General Manager of the Roadhaven Resort, and Stephen Herring is a board member of the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce and the Municipal Relationship Manager at Republic Services. At any time, the sponsors may interject to request a clarification of a question or a response, or even ask a follow-up question. Our official clock watcher is Heather DeBross, the dinger in Portante, and she is Director of Sales and Marketing for the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce. And you might just want to hold up the cards so the candidates can see them. She's got time cards, a little bit hard to read, but that will let you know how much time is left. After the initial sponsor queries and as time permits, the forum will be open to questions from the audience. So before we get to the Q&As, let's begin with visioning. Apache Junction has been undergoing a dramatic transformation in the last few years. We'd ask the candidates to please share with our audience in 60 seconds or less your vision of Apache Junction's future and how under your leadership will help move Apache Junction forward. And we'll begin with number 1, Robin Barker.
Thank you very much. Yes. All right, thank you for coming, and thank you for those who stayed. I appreciate that. Thank you, SRP, Republic, and the Chamber for sponsoring this. My vision of Apache Junction in the future is a walkable downtown, one that has arts and entertainment. My vision includes open trails, plenty of places for horse riding, hiking, that kind of thing. I want to retain the open spaces while we grow and create more opportunities for economic development by carefully planning for the future.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, again, I want to reiterate, thank you for everyone. I won't go through details of them all, everyone is involved. But I currently sit on city council, the vice mayor, but I want to be able to continue to serve you and help through the situations. I want to protect the say rural lifestyle of our community, as well as the open spaces around, and keep on going forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a reminder, Heather, this is 60 seconds. If you got that. 60 seconds? Yeah. You have a few more?
They only
Okay.
got 30 seconds each.
Oh.
Because that's what you did for council.
Oh,
so
that's what we
got-
did, but I just said 60 seconds.
Okay, we can go back and let them finish. Okay.
All right, we'll just make it 30 seconds then, everyone. We'll get the same treatment. Mr. Austin, 30 seconds.
What I envision in well, anyway, I'm Charles Austin, and I'm glad to see that everybody made it, or whoever made it anyway. And I'm running for mayor, and what I envision in Apache Junction is positive growth. They annexed south of the 60, and I see nothing but positive growth along with economic development that will help in the community, and it all needs to be properly zoned to help with all of the community and the way it's developed.
Okay, and finally, Mr. Insalico.
Good evening.
Did that work?
Is it on? It's on.
Yep.
I'd like to continue almost everything what everybody said, but one of my main things that I'm interested in doing this term, if I'm re-elected or I'm elected, is our neighborhoods are falling apart. Some of our older neighborhoods are not being taken care of. We need to get better code enforcement, and that'll come up later, but I'm just glad to see everybody here.
All right, let's begin with the hardcore questioning, and we'll start with Steve Byfield, Chair of the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Change can be difficult. However, it can be necessary. What are some of the areas and focus you believe Apache Junction needs to experience change to continue to prosper?
And this first round will begin with Mr. Austin.
Well, I think, anyway, I think we need to concentrate on a lot of the downtown businesses and upgrades and improvements, and attract more businesses and better businesses that'll want to do business here in Apache Junction.
And next up, Ms. Barker.
Change is going to come whether we like it or not, because we're going to grow. Phoenix is expecting 1 million people in the next 10 years, and some of that is going to overflow into our area. This change can be good and it can be bad. In one way, it's going to create more housing, which is going to eat up more of the desert, and people are not going to be happy with that. So we have to be very careful as we go down this path, that we plan and zone correctly to keep enough open space, enough area for people to actually breathe here.
Thank you. And next up would be Mr. Insalico.
As I was saying before, we'd like to attract more businesses, but before we attract more business in here, we have to get our town cleaned up. Our code enforcement, I'm telling you right now, is terrible. I don't know if it's because of lack of help or they're not going around. Before, when I was on the council and mayor, we had 2 women that you used to see them going around town checking on everything. In fact, I can remember one time when they went by Robin Barker's house, and she had a washer and dryer out in front and just fixing up their kitchen, and they tried to tag her for it. But people are not abiding by the rules. We've got up and down the trail, all the side streets, broken down cars, motors out in the middle of the yard. Things every day, people see this. We need to help this town get cleaned up before we can attract new business in here.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, I really and truthfully is the understanding that we will have growth. And one of the things that I'd like to see is some more of a, say, businesses in our industrial area just south of 60. We need to establish that, bring in some good businesses, and some of these could be some fairly large where they have a lot of employment, or they can be small businesses for smaller employment. But these employment wages are going to be much better. And of course we have interfill that we need to look on for the rest of the areas and make sure that we are doing this in a way that's planned and is for the good of the entire community.
Thank you. And now to the cohort at the chamber, Mr. Harry.
Thank you. The city has evolved into a great home for winter residents and retirees. Should the city continue to encourage or market to these folks? Why or why not?
And we'll begin this round with Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. It is, we've done a lot where we're trying to limit the number of, I'm going to say, senior park model home or developments. We're trying to attract more of the younger people with families into our community. This not only helps the city, but also helps the school districts as well. But we do definitely need to use our abilities to try to promote the entire area for the senior communities as well. But again, kind of limit what their areas are that they're involved with, and limit the number of senior park-only facilities.
And next up for this question, Mr. Insalico.
We need to get these developers who are putting up home developments to stop worrying about making them 55 or plus and making them more for communities, for the full public. Because we do have an awful lot of mobile home parks here, fine. I know we need them, because all I can tell you, 20 years in business, they kept me in money from October through April, and that carried me through the summer. So we do need to keep attracting our winter visitors, but we got to make sure that whatever new developments, they're for families.
And now next to Ms. Parker.
Our winter visitors are the folks that pay heavily in sales tax, which is what creates the programs that everybody in the city enjoys. They also help keep businesses open. They also bring their families here, and their families look around and say, whoa, it's a great place to live. So many of their families move here. And we have put a moratorium on 55 plus communities, so there won't be any more of those. I think winter visitors are a staple in our community, and I think that we need to continue to welcome them as we also include as many families and young people as we can get.
Thank you. And taking a last crack at that question, Mr. Austin.
Yes, we need to do what we can to attract as many seniors, as we can. I mean, one thing that I've noticed is we have no senior discounts. That right there would attract seniors just into the restaurants, the swimming pool. Probably here at the auditorium, there's probably not a senior discount either. But that's one thing I've mentioned to push, is a lot of the senior discounts around town and whatnot. Even at the hitching post, I hit them up there. But anyway, that's my answer.
Very good. Thank you very much. And let's see, back to the chamber for another question. Mr. Byfield.
Apache Junction Unified School District is a vital resource to the children, parents, and the community in and around Apache Junction. As the mayor, how will you provide leadership and support as the school district seeks additional funding in the future through bonds and override process?
For this round, let's begin with Mr. Insalico.
Well, first of all, the mayor can only do what 3 other councilmen will do with him. A lot of cities, your school district is in the city proper. But the school district and the fire district were here long before this was a city. So they were on their own, just like Globe, Arizona, where I was from. They had their own district before they became a city. So the city does help, but how much are they responsible for? We have other things to worry about besides just taking care of their problems. I know they have problems and we should help, but where does the money come from? What we have to do is make sure the public will vote for bond elections because that's what they need.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, I've, on bonds and the issues that have been up since I've been on city council, I've been involved in each one of them in trying to help the school district. One of the things that we have to all remember, a prosperous school system is also going to help the community, and that helps the community as it grows forward on it. The city is a separate government agency compared to the school system, which is another government agency. And we can work together to assist each other in this, and we have done some joint activities and joint things. Like, for example, the swimming pool and the skate park. Those are things that we've done together and helped each other out. So we'll continue on with those and help everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Barker.
I think one thing that the city can do is education. If the city can work with the schools to educate the community in such a manner. I mean, the city worked very, very hard. When we had home rule, we went out everywhere and educated the entire community what home rule was, how it would work for them, etc. And that passed every single time. I think the city can put that kind of educational effort into the school districts.
Thank you. Mr. Herring with a question?
Yes, the Superstition area is full of wonderful attractions and outdoor areas for our visitors that come from all over the world. How should the city position itself to enhance tourism, and how do we counter-effect the COVID-19 tourism decline?
And Ms. Barker, do you want to start off?
You're going to come to me first. We position ourselves, and we are at this point. We have many advertisements in multiple travel magazines. We have advertisements in the airport. We now have a new video that advertises all the attractions in and around Apache Junction, shows the museum, the lakes. The way that we can work this, I think, is just to continue to advertise, continue to get the word out, and when COVID-19 dies down, that's when we'll get those tourists back. But I don't think there's a whole lot the city can do to avoid the current situation.
Thank you. And I'm told that I overlooked you. Oh, I thought you were just waving hello from way down there. All right, so what we'll do, if you can remember the previous question, we'll give you a chance to answer that, and then you can answer this question.
Okay, on the funding, the school funding, I strongly support.
Keep the mic real close to your mouth.
I strongly support all school funding and teachers' higher wages and getting through this COVID and getting the schools going and the students back in school started again. That's a big concern of mine, and I'm not sure if they offer like online classes for the students, but that should definitely be in effect. to solve some of the issues with the school situation. Next.
The other question was,
The Superstition area is full of wonderful attractions and outdoor areas for our visitors that come from all over the world. How should the city position itself to enhance tourism, and how do we counter-effect the COVID-19 tourism decline?
Well, advertising definitely. I don't know if they use like travel agencies and whatnot, but we need to work on attracting people here that want, we need a water park, something to that effect, where the movie theater, water park with a movie theater where people will want to come out here, visit, tour, go up to the mountains and whatnot around here. And that's
okay, my apologies for omission. Remember, if you shorten moderator, it's moderate. And I think that probably fits my role here tonight, just a moderate performance. Okay, Mr. Wilson, thank you for bringing that up to my attention.
Okay. One of the things that, yes, tourism is very important, and to get it to grow and expand it more is something I would definitely all work towards. We have great opportunities around in our area, and there was a video that was shown in our last city council meeting which showed the benefits of being in the area and some of the things, which is fantastic. And doing more of this and sending it out to promote the area, promote some of the things that we're doing in our community for this type of activities is something I definitely would encourage more of, and in moving forward with all of that. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one to take up this question, Mr. Insalico.
Well, as far as attracting people to come here, that's part of the Chamber of Commerce's business. When they have their magazine that goes out, they're partners with the city, so a big part of that falls on the Chamber. But as far as this COVID-19 business, everybody's struggling throughout the valley, throughout Arizona, throughout the United States. But let's be lucky that we don't have any riots or any protests. I haven't seen any yet. Thank God we live here and not closer into the valley. Sorry about the guy in Mesa there. But let's be thankful that we're here and not someplace else.
Okay, thank you very much. Mesa's been pretty peaceful. I think we'll go to the audience, and again, a reminder, if you do want to ask a question, please get the attention of Denise here in the red, and she'll be happy to escort you down to a position where you can quickly ask the question. And we remind all of those folks that want to ask questions, we're only giving 60 seconds for the candidates to answer, so we'd like you to keep those questions as short as the candidates' answers. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
The community and city employees sometimes have disagreements over different subjects that come up. You as city, or you as mayors, what are you going to do to work together to bring a resolution for the best of all of AJ?
Thank you for the question, and let's start with Mr. Ralston.
Go one more time with the question.
Sometimes the community and city employees disagree on different subjects that come up during the council meetings. How are you as a mayor going to work together to find the best resolution for the good of all of AJ?
Working together between the community and employees of the city, how are you going to try to come back to get some good resolution to some problems?
We should probably have like a committee to review the disagreements, to resolve the issues that they might have, and kind of go from there.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, we've done this in several times where we've had some issues that have come up between areas and the city. We've worked through them through either setting up a committee where they went and did the, I'll say, canvassing of the entire area to come up with some resolutions on what needs to be done and what some of the things that can be worked forward, and worked with our planning and zoning department to work through it as well. And there is things that can be done, but again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's something that we can sit down and discuss with reasonable and talk through and come up with a conclusion.
Thank you. Mr. Insolico.
Before you go to a committee, I think that the city staff, all the city staff should be closer tied with the council and the mayor. A lot of bickering goes on. I think they need to resolve problems between the staff and the council and the mayor before you even have a committee, because I think the problem lies in communication between staff and the council.
Thank you. And finally, for this question, Ms. Barker.
It would appear to me that one of the best methods to begin a resolution would be to have all of the parties come together, discuss their differences, get explanations, facts, information that perhaps one party doesn't have and the other does have, and work through those differences. If that doesn't work, then that's the point where I think that we as a council would have to sit down with those folks and try to find that line that we could both meet on. Some situations are so full of disinformation, etc., that it's very difficult to talk these things through. But I think that's the first thing that ought to be tried.
Thank you. And I believe we have another member of the audience with a question. Yes, sir.
So my question for the mayor is, as we look to the mayor for leadership, just like we did for Jeff Surtee when he made the decision about mask being optional, it's a tough call. So right now you guys have 2 years in a term. 4 years would maybe help you cement leadership better than what maybe 2 years does. Would any of you be opposed to lengthening the term limit of the mayor's position?
And thank you for that question. Let's start this round with Mr. Insolico.
I'd be opposed to 4-year term. You have to understand that you have a council with 4-year term, mayor with 2-year term. And if you have the mayor with a 4-year term, you're going to have the same 4 people running always together. It needs to be staggered. So if the mayor has a 4-year term, the same as council, I'm not saying there can be collusion, but there could be. It needs to be split up, so I'd be against a 4-year term.
And now to Ms. Barker.
I think term limits are already in force, and they're called voters. Voters make that decision, and I think they're pretty good at it myself. John has a good point. If you had 4 years, you would have the same seats open every 4 years and could possibly have the same people running for those seats every 4 years. And I don't think that's a terribly good idea.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson. Well, one of the things that people say that, this, 4 candidates that are running, we got 3 council members and the mayor, actually do set a majority for the council. Well, that is every 2 years, you are basically looking at doing that again, so that the mayor and the council have to work together in this. It would be nice for 4 years for the mayor, I admit, but for the community, I think the 2-year term is actually the best. That way it is going on forward every 2 years.
And finally to Mr. Austin.
4 years, I think it's too long. It should be staggered too. I agree with it being staggered in 2 years for the mayor.
Okay, and I might just ask a follow-up question for clarification, just whoever can provide the answer. To change term limits or time of service, that would require a charter change?
We're not a charter city,
Well, I
but
mean,
it would go to a
your governing
vote.
documents.
It would go to a vote. The 2-year term did get voted in by the citizens of the city when the city first began.
Yeah, it would have to be voted on by the citizens.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Let's see, let's go back now to the chamber and Mr. Harry.
All right. What do you see as the boundaries and planning objectives for the future of Apache Junction? With that, how do you envision development south of the US 60, and how will that stimulate our future growth?
Let's begin this round with Mr. Wilson.
Can I get clarification on what boundaries you mean? Do you mean city boundaries, or what is the boundaries you're looking for?
So the way I think the question is being asked is, where do you see the boundaries going in the future? Is there further expansion of the city? Is it a fleshing out of the current boundary? What do you envision?
Okay, well, we've already got I'm going to say, gentleman's agreement between Queen Creek and us on the furthest south that we will go on for the city of Apache Junction. I think it's something that we need to definitely work on and maintain and look to our development to the south and the annexation of an area down there for going to be going into the future. The growth to the south is going to be continuing. The growth to the east can be a little bit, but that's all around state land, which kind of hinders what we can do. And we are pretty much landlocked to the north by federal lands and landlocked to the south by state lands.
Mr. Ansalico.
Well, there's plans on the shelf somewhere in the city of all the different plans that have been drawn up and made. My first year as mayor, they had a beautiful plan with homes and light industry and shop, and it's still sitting there somewhere in the shelf, and that's not the only plan. Until we find out when we can have that land, like I say, I'm not privy to what the status is now, but there's been so many plans made up for that land to the south, and then there was a question at one time that do we want to get too much industry down there and too many shops and then hurt our downtown? So there's a lot of ifs with that land to the south.
Thank you. And Mr. Austin.
Yes, it's a positive growth and development on the south of the 60, but it needs to be. We need to develop and progress and finish like what we started, to where it's not like gapped out with a bunch of open spaces. We need to fill it. We need to fill it in properly, zone it properly, and make things more efficient in the development part of it, and not get too far ahead. That's what I see.
Thank you. And finally, for this question, Ms. Barker.
Yeah, our boundaries are State Route 24 to the south, Meridian to the west, and if we annex the entire 6,600 acres to the south in August, that will take us to the CAP Canal to the east, below the 60 or south of the 60, and of course we're landlocked on the north. I would like to see us in the future annex a little more of that land to the south and go east of the CAP Canal, because I would like to see an extension of the northeast side of the city that is large lot. I'd like to see that extend all the way down south so that there's a continual pathway for equestrian riding and that kind of thing.
Thank you. And now to another question from the chamber, Mr. Byfield.
Thank you. Apache Junction is lacking in public transportation. The city's general plan is also on the ballot in August. What does the city need to do to address alternate modes of transportation in regards to hiking, biking, and the horse community?
And this one, we'll start with Mr. Austin.
Go again with the question. Go again with the question.
Okay. Apache Junction is lacking in public transportation. The city's general plan is also on the ballot this August. What does the city need to do to address alternate modes of transportation, as in hiking, biking, and horse community?
Well, I'm all for the trails and, and horses and all that, but I'm pushing for busing. I was the first one on the rural road bus route to Scottsdale, Tempe, and look at how that's developed. That started as an express. Same with the Chandler bus route up Arizona Avenue. Look how that one's progressed. I used to take the Greyhound to Mesa to catch the Phoenix Transit going in, Greyhound Trailway. So I see a need for the busing, and I see it'll work from Superstition to here, as far as public transportation goes, and that's what I'm pushing for with the light rail future, because it'll work. Look at the rural road to Scottsdale and the Chandler. Those started as an express route, and look at them now.
All right, thank you.
They're going to Gilbert now.
Thank you. And now on to Mr. Wilson.
Well, first off, the trails, yes, in the plan, we have plans for developing trails within the city, whether it's bike routes or horse trails or hiking. Also, we're looking at some of the bike lanes for some of the other roads inside the city. As far as a bus transportation between us and somewhere else out west, whether it goes to Power or wherever. But that's something that can be looked at, but we need to look at financing behind it, on where the funds are going to come from, how it's going to be financed, and how often it would be running, because just twice a day is not really going to help anybody out.
Thank you. Ms. Parker.
Well, first of all, public transportation is dependent upon ridership. If you don't have riders, you're not going to have the transportation out here, which is why Representative Townsend's bill that she dropped last session to give us a 3-year trial period to find out if we actually have the ridership. That's what I would like to see, that bill dropped again. Because of the COVID virus, the legislature hasn't had time to act on it. Also, all new roads that are built in Apache Junction and any major repairs to roads now require some kind of pedestrian path, a sidewalk, something similar, or bike lanes. So those are in the plans. We've been doing it for quite some time now. And the general plan does have many trails and other types of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. And your thoughts on this issue, Mr. Insolico?
As far as horse trails, you can use all we can get. And as far as bike trails, I got to thank Robin because she was the head of getting those bike lanes in the streets. She was a go-getter. I got to say that for her, so she deserves all the credit for that. But as far as public transportation, I don't know how many times we've got in touch with the bus line, and they said, when you get 100,000 people out there, full-time residents, give us a call. They're not going to come out here. They're not going to, there's just not enough ridership. You're going to have a bus come all the way out here for 10, 12 people, they're not going to do it. And then for us to have our own bus transportation, that would eat up our whole city budget.
Thank you. All right, I think we're ready to go back to the audience for a question. You're next. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor candidates. It was very interesting to hear the City Council candidates' opinion on the homeless, whether it's a problem or not. I'd be interested to hear if you see it as a problem and what your proposal is for helping the homeless, particularly at night when it's very dark and difficult to see people, both for drivers and for the people that are in the streets when they don't have a place to go.
Thank you for that question. Let's start this round with Ms. Barker.
You know, I agree with one of the council candidates who made the statement that if there's one person homeless, we have a problem. We don't, however, in comparison to so many other communities. The city has been working with various organizations throughout our city, nonprofit organizations, to help to find resources for the homeless. There's a resource center where various organizations come in, they talk to the homeless, they give them information on housing, jobs, some of them need help on how to get their Social Security, how to get medical care, et cetera, and those things need to continue, and we need to increase our efforts in that way.
Mr. Austin.
Well, when I was out petitioning...
You need your microphone, sir.
When I was out petitioning, I talked to several people. Some people are saying there's not a homeless problem, but then there's plenty that say there is. They're jumping the fences, they're taking baths in the pools, doing their laundry in the pools, you know, they're getting arrested for trespassing and whatnot. And I said a community center, a homeless community center. I'm talking really, that's a nice wording. I'm talking about a shelter, like a tent city, somewhere where they can get off, a small tent city, somewhere where they can get off their feet and get medical attention and whatnot. And they have an address, they can get a job, they'll have an address, they can get a job and off their feet and into the work world. But we need to see how we can fund that. It shouldn't be much in funding for a tent and whatnot, but that's my vision for the homeless.
Thank you. And for this question, now to Mr. Insolico.
I don't know where the money would come from the city. All I can say is that I'm a life member of the VFW. I'm on the Veterans Affairs Committee at our local chapter, and I work half a day a week at the Veterans Center down there. Now this is, let's face it, there's an awful lot of homeless people who are veterans. For whatever reason, however they got there, whether it be drugs, alcohol, or just bad luck. And to say we don't have a homeless problem at HA is bunk, because we do have a problem. It's not major, but we do have a problem. I wish I had the answer. I wish I had something in the crystal ball.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Wilson.
Yes. First off, just to let everyone know, the city does not have property that it could turn around and use for it. The city is very limited on its property that it has, and we work with the local nonprofits and I'll say the churches to help out, and we work with them on a daily basis in trying to assist them, whether it's the VFW or Genesis or whatever. It is something that we have been working with over the years in trying to assist. And again, we don't have the areas where we can turn around and put in a tent city. We don't own property that is sitting there, that's just sitting vacant, or we have no buildings at all that we own that we could do that.
Thank you. And I think we do have another audience question. Yes, ma'am.
I was very concerned when Jeff Surtee didn't know that the council had gone behind his back about the hitching post. How would you, as a mayor, be strong enough to make sure your council worked with you and didn't go behind your back and report somebody to Pinal County instead?
Thank you. And let's begin this round with Mr. Insolico. Yep.
Sorry. If this is a particular item, this is one item. First of all, the council should not go behind the mayor's back. They should go to the mayor before they do anything. So I guess she's leaving. But if the mayor doesn't have the council's cooperation, I see an awful lot of problems there. They should be working together, not fighting one another.
Thank you. Ms. Sparkman.
First of all, the council did not go behind the mayor's back. I don't know where that came from or to what exactly this lady was referring. The council and a mayor work together. The mayor has one vote, just like every other member of the council. And they are a team, and they need to work as a team. And if they can't work as a team, you've got a broken government.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
And I'll agree with Robin on that. No, the council did not go behind his back. There was a group of us that was working with the hitching post and trying to resolve some of the issues. And we were trying our best as a council to work between them and the city staff in coming up with conclusions that we could all abide by and agree to. And again, yes, we need to work together as a complete team, and the mayor is the team leader and goes forward and takes the inputs from the rest of the team.
Thank you. And Mr. Austin, your thoughts on this issue?
Well, they need to be up front with each other. There should be teamwork. They need to work together. And I don't know if they did go behind their back or not. You know, I don't know the whole situation, but it needs to be a teamwork deal.
Okay, let's go back to our sponsors for a couple of questions, starting with Mr. Byfield.
Thank you. What is your vision for the next 10 to 20 years and for the future of the city of Apache Junction?
Mr. Wilson, let's start off with you. That's why it's a round robin.
Okay, so I just finished writing that down. Okay. One of the things that I would like to see, I'll say growth and more opportunities. And of course, I look at the industrial area just south of 60. We need to bring in some infrastructure to that facility, that area, so that we can attract businesses One of the problems that we have the area where we can have businesses come in, but doesn't have the infrastructure that's there that is needed and to make it a worthwhile investment, where they'll go to other locations a little bit further to the west where the infrastructure is already there. So, and of course this would bring in some good paying jobs and would keep people working in the community, and it also would work for bringing in small businesses that also want to work with us in this area as well.
Mr. Insolico, your views on this important question.
We know that our main business area is the Apache Trail. Most of our business is down the trail. There's not many pieces of property left worth for businesses. And whatever vacant land is there, it's under the federal easement, excuse me, it's under the flood control, like there by the Harley Davidson. There's a big chunk of property. We got to find out how we can get that land released so people can use that land, because they have to go through so many loopholes to build something. That's why Jack in the Box is built up on, not Jack in the Box, Starbucks is built up on stilts because it's in a flood plain. And I don't know how long we haven't had a flood downtown, but we got an awful lot of land that's not being used and not utilized where it can sure go to use.
Thank you. Mr. Austin, your turn.
Go with the question again.
What is your vision for the next 10 to 20 years for the future of the city of Apache Junction?
Well, what I envision is like, I guess it was Robin was saying, a walk downtown type thing. And I think we need like architectural designers, like to come up with plans like Mill Avenue, Gilbert, the way they've got everything set up. Chandler's even, well, they've had a big horseshoe in there anyway, but, and I think with the proper designer and the proper ideas, we're gonna come up with a good plan for the future of AJ and how it's all designed, and like a walkthrough or Mill Avenue type thing, which will attract people, more people in tourism.
Thank you, and I'm a bit disappointed I didn't hear Mesa mentioned in that list of other cities. All right, finally, Ms. Barker.
My vision for the future is an increase in population, which in turn will increase business and economic development growth, which in turn will increase job opportunities. I'd like to see diverse housing opportunities in the community, environmentally conscious community, and I want one whole city, not two cities. I don't want a north and a south Apache Junction. Yes, the northern part may be the main downtown tourist type area, but I'd like to have a whole city and a walkable downtown with arts and entertainment, outdoor restaurants, and a variety of places where people can gather.
Thank you, and I would believe that Mr. Herring would have a question.
Yes, thank you. The city has experienced the considerable effects of this year's coronavirus and impacts of businesses closing and massive unemployment consequences. As mayor, how do you balance public health and safety with the need to get businesses open and get people back to work?
And Mr. Austin, it's your turn to take the lead.
Well, we need to get our businesses going again. I mean, if they want you to wear a mask, you should wear a mask. And I can get into the mask deal too. I mean, anyway, it's about the businesses and whatnot. Anyway, Yeah, it threw me off with the mask because I'm saying we need to get our businesses going, but the corona set us back. And I'm just thinking we need to do whatever it takes and whatever the state asks of us to get these businesses back going and to make them more productive and whatever they have to do and whatever the state requires, they need to do it. And let's get them rolling.
Thank you, and I would just say, because we're getting down to near the end, if anyone in the audience still has a question they want to ask, let Denise know, and we'll be sure to make sure that question does get asked. For this question, Mr. Wilson.
One of the things that is very important, of course, is our businesses and getting them going back on their feet. We've done some things to try to assist them the best that we can with the limited budget that we have. Now we've gotten this money, this CARES money that's coming in, and we can look at some of the things that we can do with that to assist our businesses as they, to help them continue on and grow in the near future. And I say near, I'm talking about between now and this fall. But again, is something that is going to be taking we're going to be studying and looking at and seeing what we can do and how we can go about what's the best for the entire community.
Thank you. And to Ms. Barker.
Businesses need to be open. We all know that. They need to open and follow the health guidelines. I would encourage all of us to shop local, eat local, and we need to respect business requests to wear masks, because those masks are not that you put on your face. That's not protecting you. I don't know about you, but all mine does is fog up my glasses. But what it does do is it protects their employees so that they can stay open. If people don't follow those health guidelines and their employees begin to get sick, then those businesses are going to have to close. We do have some care funds that hopefully we can give out to businesses in some way.
Thank you. And finally, for this round, Mr. Insolico.
First of all, I'll get myself in trouble, I know, but I've been there before. I believe that the money that the governor has set aside for Apache Junction to help out the businesses should all go to the businesses, not the city coffers, because I'm sorry, that's not following the rules. He said that money's got to go to help out the businesses. Well, why should it go to the city? The city's going to have to bear down and do something. That money should go to the businesses. That's what it was designed for.
Thank you. And I think we do have a member of the audience with a question. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is John Kenny. A lot of mayors around America are having problems with the police force. The City of Apache Junction does not have a citizen review board for the police force here. As a mayor, would that be something that you would be willing to bring up and approach? Why or why not?
Thank you for that question, and let's start this round with Ms. Barton.
Well, in actuality, John, the city did consider a citizen review board about, I want to say 15 years ago or so, and it was very promptly put down by the citizens in the community. Would I consider it? Yeah, I would consider it, just to see what the reaction is and to understand what they could do, what they couldn't do, etc. Sure, I would consider it.
Thank you. And Mr. Austin.
Yes, I'd strongly consider a review board for the police department. I go to the lieutenant, is what I do. I don't know if that's what you guys want to do, but I take care of it that way and get things done. And yes, a review board would definitely help and work with the AJ Police Department.
Thank you. Mr. Insolico.
Absolutely not. When I was in Globe for a while, I was appointed to the Citizens Police Review Board. They had it going for 5 years. I went on for 1 year, and a bunch of Soundtown people got together and said, disband it. It caused more trouble and more dissension in the police department and the townspeople than anything else. To me, that would be a big mistake.
And finally, on this question, Mr. Wilson.
Well, one of the things that we need to look at is determining what is this citizen review board supposed to be doing? What is its decisions that would be over, and who would they actually be overlooking? I think that it needs to be fully looked into, and all sides need to be taken into account. Now, if we're just talking about citizens review board simply for a simple police action, no, I'm not for that. That we already have the protections in place where any types of actions, it is reviewed internally and also externally. And so those are already in place and have been doing very well over the years. But again, it's something that if it's something that's being brought up, I think it needs to be fully investigated as determine what they are going to be reviewing and what's their authorities.
Thank you very much. All right. Yes, ma'am, from the audience.
Hi all, thank you so much for coming out and talking to us. I have a really easy question. I just want to know why you're running.
You'd want to clarify that question in any way?
I want to know why you're running for mayor.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's start this round with Mr. Insolico.
Thank you for that question. Let me blow my horn. I was 12 years on the Globe School Board. I was president of Rotary, president of the Chamber of Commerce, and at the time, it's not politically correct now, I was president of the Gila County Retarded Children's Association. I was state president. I was president of the I was fourth president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Apache Junction when we met at the old Los Vaqueros, which is Cowboys Up. I was mayor for 8 years, 2 terms. I was mayor for 9.5 years. I consider myself a servant of the people. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Ms. Barker.
I would like to continue to represent the city, the community as a whole, not just a part of it, but all of it all together. And I would like to continue to guide this city as it grows so that we can remain not just a rural city, but a larger community that has a rural feel. I think it's going to be very important to be very cognizant of planning as we go forward. We have a huge area to the south that needs to be very carefully planned in order to have developments where we want developments, businesses where we want them, industry, manufacturing, etc. I would like to be a part of the future of the city of Apache Junction.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, the reason why I'm running is because I would like to be able to continue serving the community. I have been doing it since 2008, and it's one of the things that I've enjoyed about is looking forward into the future. And I think that in addition to the growth to the south, we need to definitely manage it in a way that is beneficial for the entire community. It is promoting the area, and we have a lot to offer. We got that beautiful mountain to the east of us. It is an attraction, and we can definitely not only use it as an attraction, but also use it to help keep us, I'll say, a rural community feeling that we all enjoy and that we have come here and decided to make it our home because of it.
And finally, Mr. Austin.
Well, what really got me to checking into it and just doing it was codes, getting somebody out to check the code violations. They wouldn't do it, they pass it to the county and that big circle, and anyway, I had issues with somebody in codes, in the code violations. And the trash law, that was something else. It's a crime. You can end up locked up for not paying your trash bill. It should be a civil issue. It should go to collections, not to the judge, where you face jail time and maybe community service, picking up trash in the community, because they passed a law like that. It should be revised, changed. Anyway, that's what got me to run for mayor.
Thank you. And let's go back to our sponsors. Mr. Herring with a question.
Oh, I got one.
Okay.
The City of Apache Junction partners with the Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, owning 5% interest in the airport. Would you be able to support this partnership, and why or why not would you support this partnership?
And let's start this round with Mr. Wilson.
Well, and I would support it, to continue it on and then work towards it. Currently, it is one of our closest, I'll say, employers for, and it's growing, and it's got some tremendous growth that's going to be coming in the very near future, with trade as well as different industry type situations down there, and would like to be part of it in trying to, I want to say, assist them as they grow forward, and it will also assist our community as future employees, excuse me.
Thank you. Mr. Insolico.
I support it wholeheartedly. Previous mayor before me said the biggest mistake he made in his 12 years as mayor was turning down the chance to get into the Mesa Gateway. And then we got on, it cost us almost double what it would, our fair share. It cost us almost double what it would have cost us if we had gotten it when he was mayor. But it's well needed. We have quite a few people who live here, who work there at the different places. So yes, I support it wholeheartedly.
Mr. Austin.
Yes, I support it. It's beneficial to Apache Junction, and I see with the busing, I see the busing going through there to get to here. So yes, it's a positive.
Thank you. And finally, for this question, Ms. Barker.
Yes, I support the Mesa Gateway Airport. When the city first joined Mesa Gateway, it was with a little bit of council dissension. It seemed that some thought that it was throwing money down the drain. And as the years have gone by, the council is pretty united about the membership. There are jobs there. There's an opportunity for the city to get manufacturing and industry that will relate to those businesses that are on the Mesa Gateway campus. It is a plus all the way around for us, I think.
Thank you. And I think we have an audience question. Yes, ma'am.
All right, it's gonna be a toughie for you guys.
There is the perception of racism here in Apache Junction. And what I want to know is, how are you going to deal with that? We have one person up here running for office who has been heard to make racial slurs and has been working with some people to harass a minority business owner. So I'd like to know how you, as running for mayor, are going to stop that.
Okay, thank you for that question, and let's start this round with Ms. Barker.
Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
Well, first of all, perception and reality. are often two different things. This is a battle that is being fought right now throughout the nation, and one that city leaders, state leaders, federal leaders are all searching for an answer of how we change this. And to be absolutely honest with you, I don't know quite how to change this. I don't believe that there is racism involved, but I don't know how to change your perception.
Mr. Wilson, let you tackle this.
Okay. And I agree with Robin, there is a lot of perception here as to what people believe on misinformation, misdirected information. To me, there's been so much done over the years to assist and work through not only at this one place, but also others as well. And it has not been based on his or their race or their perceived, well, for their last name as being perceived as a minority individual. We have prided ourselves very much in working with as many people that we can to work through problems and getting the, I'll say, correct outcome so that we can move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Ansalico.
I'm sorry, I don't know of any racist problems here in Apache Junction. So I don't know how else to answer that question, but I don't know.
And finally, Mr. Austin.
Well, if there's issues with racism and Black Lives Matter, to me it's all lives matter, not just Black lives. So we need to focus on correcting the racism and do the best we can as far as correcting somebody's opinions, negative racism opinions. And that's the best I can say.
Thank you. Can we go back to the chamber for another question?
Sure, I have one more. This is an annex question. Should the city look to annex county islands or other areas surrounding Apache Junction? I know we've already talked about the area south of the 60, but in advance of that, and then the question I've seen asked in many places, would you support a Gold Canyon annex?
And we'll let Mr. Austin tackle this first.
Well, if it's feasible to annex the county islands, yes. But we got south of the 60 going, and we don't want to get too far ahead. So, anyway, what was the next part of the?
Gold Canyon.
Oh, Gold Canyon. Gold Canyon, as far as that being annexed, if it's not a burden on Apache Junction, I think it'll work for the whole growth and economic development of Apache Junction. I think we'd benefit from annexing Gold Canyon as a whole.
Thank you. Ms. Parker.
Yes, I would like to see the city bring in the county islands, but the county islands have to agree to come into the city, and that's important to remember. And Gold Canyon, I don't want to actively seek their annexation. Gold Canyon would cost us more to annex than we would gain. We don't have a property tax, so none of that property would help us out. They don't have a lot of retail, so we wouldn't get much sales tax out of it. And we would have to hire more police officers, more public works people, more of everybody in order to service the area. So no, that's not something I'd be interested in right now.
And Mr. Insolico, your thoughts on this issue?
I ditto everything Robin just said about Gold Canyon. But as far as county islands, we have a few county islands that are within our city limits. I wouldn't want to go outside of our city limits that are problem areas. The only thing is to annex them in, you have to have 51% of the homeowners to vote for it. The only problem is a lot of those apartment buildings along Southern, they're owned by people from California, and they don't want to come into the city. So it's not just a matter of saying, okay, we're going to bring you to the city. But if we could bring them in the city, it would solve a lot of problems because our police department can go in and hold law and order, and we can force them to clean up their properties. But I wouldn't worry about going outside the city. But there are some county islands within the city limits. I would say yes, please do it.
And Mr. Wilson, you get the final thoughts on this question.
Well, and I'm going to reiterate what Robin said. Number one is the people in the area, whether it's the county islands or even Gold Canyon. 50 plus one of the one vote of the area ownership has to say we want to become into the city. The county islands, there are some advantages for them to come into the city. And right now, for example, in the water district, they pay more for it out there than they do as being part of the city. Sewer, same way. But the Gold Canyon is a huge problem because number one, it's going to cost us as a city a lot to go in, not only to make their roads, but also all the equipment that's needed to support them. So I would recommend that we would go through a complete study and what's best for the entire area.
Thank you. And do we have, I think we're getting down to where we'll get one more question in. Yes, from the audience.
As you guys know, there's a high population of veterans and families in Apache Junction. I have a two-part question. What are your plans in supporting veteran organizations? And on this small business funding, would you consider any funding going to a nonprofit EIN like 501c?
Thank you for that question. And this round, Mr. Wilson, you get to start off.
I just got 501c written down. We do have some funds that right now we have $80,000 that we do distribute out to different organizations that are non-profit organizations to help the community out. And you know, if there is one, I would encourage that they would put in for that as well. We may even need to look at maybe some increases in that if it's possible. And of course, that all depends on how the city works on its budgets and its balances, that what money it receives in. And working with the veterans of the area, I am a veteran myself, and I do encourage that as much as possible, and I know we do, and we help out when we can in what the different avenues that we can do it, especially for advice.
Thank you. Ms. Parker?
Yes, thank you for that question. Part of the council discussion last week on possible uses of the CARE funding was for small businesses and nonprofits. Those are the two things that came up. We don't know yet what the governor has determined we actually can use these funds for. It's kind of fuzzy, but we're hoping that we can use it for both of those areas. As far as supporting veterans organizations, I think that, again, that's something that the city can do through education, through spreading the word, etc. We have a Health and Human Services Commission that you can go to for funding. There's various possibilities.
Thank you. Mr. Austin, your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, I support helping the veterans. I mean, if they have issues and they need help, they're our veterans. We need to help them. We can't ignore them. And as far as any of the 4.8 million, I think that was set aside for the small businesses and getting them back on their feet, and get them going again. But yes, I strongly support helping the veterans organizations.
And Mr. Unsalico.
Well, I said before, I'm a member of both the Legion and the VFW. As far as I know, we get quite a bit of support from the city. Our Veterans Day Parade, they do everything for us that they can help. They help us out with the police department. They help us out with the barricades. These are all things that are done for the veterans. So you can't say the city doesn't help the veterans, because they do. And the only thing I'm saying, I hate to say it, but we might not have a Veterans Day Parade this year because of the virus. I'm on the committee, and the expense is going to be too high, and I hate to see it happen, but I'm afraid there's not going to be one.
Thank you. And we've kind of run out of time for all of the questions. And I know that everybody was shortchanged in the opening. So I think in my role as moderator and to show my generosity, I'll give you all 90 seconds to summarize whatever you want to say in form of closing remarks, and we'll go in reverse order from where we started, and that would mean we'll begin with Mr. Unsalico.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the questions. I hope we shed some light on the questions you asked. Like I said before, I'm a servant of the people, and I've got the documents to prove it, so thank you very much.
No, 90 seconds. That's it? All right. Mr. Austin.
Charles Austin here. I want to help improve Apache Junction as a whole, and as it develops and grows and moves forward, I want to make Apache Junction great, but let's make it great together. That's what I got to say. Vote for me, Charles Austin, for mayor.
Okay, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, well, one of the things I am definitely thankful for this forum. I want to thank everyone for putting it on and helping us give an opportunity for us to speak to you all. I'm an individual that's very much in the pro rights of your property. They promote the business of our community. I'd say all businesses of our community, because that's what helps run the financing of the city. And one of the reasons why I moved here was for the open space and the diversity of our community. I want to maintain the rural lifestyle of some of our areas that we have. It again is an attraction for a lot of people. How many cities will have an opportunity to have someone on horseback at the local Burger King picking up his morning coffee? That can happen here in Apache Junction, and it has. And I want that to be able to continue on. The growth in the industrial area so that we can attract big businesses that will pay very well. And I continually want to look at both sides of issues and try to make the best decision that is best for the entire community, not just a select few people.
Thank you. And final closing remarks from Ms. Barker.
I've been a resident of Apache Junction for almost 50 years, and 40 of those 50 years have been in the service of the city in one way or the other. I was employed by the city, I volunteered for the city, city commissioner, city council. I love this city. This is part of me. It's part of my being. I would like to continue to represent you on the city council. I would like to continue to see this city grow in a positive manner, a manner that creates fairness and equity for everyone, where everyone is treated equally, where we don't have any more perception of racism or prejudice or anything of that nature. I just want to see our city grow together and be all it can be.
Thank you. And if I may be permitted a personal aside, I've been doing these kind of forums for, well, about since 1984. And I don't think I've ever been at one where there's been such brevity. Usually, does the ding even work? Okay. Heather never got a chance to really use it. So from a forum standpoint, we appreciate that. It gets more questions in, and I think makes the whole evening a little more valuable for everybody. Well, we are at the end, and this concludes our 2020 Apache Junction Mayoral Candidate Forum presented by the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce. And we want to note, this is the first time the Chamber has done it. And I think overall they did a really good job, and it's an important benefit for the community to see and hear from their candidates. And it wouldn't be possible without sponsorship, and we want to recognize the presenting sponsor, Salt River Project, and the supporting sponsor, Republic Services. My thanks and the Chamber's thanks to the candidates for their willingness to endure all of this close scrutiny, and we all should be applauding their commitment to being involved in making Apache Junction a better community. And you can best reward their efforts by casting a vote for the candidate of your choice. Special recognition to the forum questioners and sponsors and their representatives, Stephen Herring of Republic Services and Steve Byfield, chair of the Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce. We thank you both. And thanks to Denise Hart for all of the work she has done in making this event come about. And if you don't know, Denise is the Chamber President and CEO, and the newest member of the Chamber, Heather DeBross, who is Director of Sales and Marketing, for her diligent lack of dinging tonight, thanks to the candidates. Also, thanks to you for your stimulating and provocative questions. Hopefully you found the dialogue valuable and received responses that will aid in making a more informed and sound decision when you cast your vote. And we'd also like to express our appreciation to the Apache High School Performing Arts Center for allowing us to use their beautiful venue. Tonight's forum was recorded and will be found very soon on the Chamber's YouTube channel, and you can get that link at the Chamber website. What's coming up, our vote by mail ballots will go to registered voters starting July 3rd. Early voting begins on July 8th, and Election Day is August 4th. So with today's swirl of COVID-19, national politics, and unrest, it's easy for many to think that a local election is unimportant. But be assured, it is at this level that decisions have the most direct impact on our lives. Keep in mind, as voters, we do have the greatest amount of control and exercise the highest influence on government here at the local level. That's why your vote should never be dismissed as immaterial. All candidates readily acknowledge that each and every vote counts. You've already demonstrated your civic interest by attending or watching at home. Now I challenge you to encourage other family members, friends, neighbors, and fellow workers to exercise their community responsibility by voting early or on Election Day, August 4th. Let's make this the greatest turnout for an election in Apache Junction history. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, our best wishes, and good night.